All right, here we go. We're back again. Welcome, episode 3, Massey on Sports. Hope you've enjoyed the first two. I know the first one was just me blabbering, but last week we had a good time with Gerald Sanchez, the voice of the Space Cowboys. That's it, Space Cowboys. Really enjoyed that visit with Gerald. And, of course, Johnny Ormond from our past played for Austin Bowie and the Vera Bulldogs long ago, coming in and making a surprise appearance. Just a good time, just a really good time. And that's what I said. This show is going to be about the guest. And I have a really awesome guest this week, and we'll get to him here in a few minutes. Our guest is Johnny Tusa, the head coach, longtime head coach of the Waco Lions. And this is a team or a school that has a lot of tradition. They haven't won much recently, at least since Coach Tusa stepped down. But he was very successful there. He's Waco born and bred. And great story. We'll get to all that here in just a few minutes. Before we get started, I do have to say hello and shout out to my amazing, wonderful, awesome sponsors that we have that have jumped on board Massey on Sports, believing in this show and how far we can take it. We're going to take it far. That I do believe. New sponsors, want to welcome Richard Kruger, your local State Farm agent serving the Waco, McLennan County area. Give Richard Kruger a call. You'll see his postcard. That's what I call it, postcard here on the show. You're probably looking at it right now. Want to welcome Slingshots Are Us of Waco. You need to look them up as well. Slingshots Are Us. If you haven't seen what a slingshot is, I'm not talking about the little weapon where you pull a little pellet or a rock back and fire it. No, I'm talking about the vehicle, the Polaris Slingshot. It's a 3-wheel vehicle, and it is fun to drive. It drives like a car, also like a motorcycle. Best way is just to Google a picture of it, do a YouTube video or look at a YouTube video on it and see how much fun they can be. Slingshots Are Us. You can look them up. You can call them. You should be looking at the number right now on the YouTube screen. Give them a call. You can rent a slingshot for a while and talk to my good friend Eric. Welcome aboard, guys. Glad to have you on Massey on Sports. Of course, last week joining us was Sunday's Caribbean Oasis. The Caribbean meets Texas. It's in China Spring, which is in the Waco area over by Waco Regional Airport. Talked to Jeremy and Amanda Sunday. Unbelievable people, unbelievable food. You got to try them out. CCM Funding Group and Versatile Real Estate and Development. They're in the same building. They're run by some very close friends of mine who I always love working with and hanging out with. Christina and Ernesto de la Cruz and their staff. Anything from real estate. Their CCM Funding is a lender. When everyone says no, they say yes. Se habla español. They do hard money loans. They do traditional lending. Give them a call today. Versatile Real Estate and Development. If you're buying a home or selling a home, if you have a junky house in your neighborhood, you need to contact Versatile Real Estate and Development. Investor friendly, just great people. Also, the law offices of Yesenia Ruiz, serving McLennan County, family, criminal, and other services. Great young attorney, graduate of Baylor University Law School. She knows how to get it done, and she has great people around her as well. Just a sharp young lady that will take good care of you. 412 Photography, Nadia Ruiz. She's a realtor also, and she does photography, production, very smart. She can put your video together. Also, she can photograph your event. There you go. So contact 412 Photography and Productions. H5 Services at hfiveservices.com. Timothy Hall, great guy, great family from Freestone County, but he serves all over. He goes east, he goes west, even into McLennan County. Lawn, landscaping, maintenance, anything like that. Tree work as well. Go to that hfiveservices.com and you can call and get a free quote today. Of course, KNES Texas 99. Yeah, buddy, my great friends there. I will be on the air with them Friday night doing the Central Texas Scoreboard Show. And, of course, we have great high school sports coverage. It starts with 5 coaches shows and then the Pigskin Preview, which is a bunch of really cool guys picking the games around the area. And then, of course, kickoff at 7:30 with our game of the week. And then a Saturday tape delay game is also on the station at 10 a.m. every Saturday morning. That starts this week. KNES Texas 99. You can download their app. Just look up KNES Texas 99 and check out the app. So love my sponsors. Got that out of the way. And just thank you to all of you who have sponsored Massey on Sports. Just some headlines to get out of the way before we start talking. We're going to do a lot of high school football talk today because Coach Tusa is coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But real quick, it's the final week of the NFL preseason. Then they'll take a week off, and then the regular season will begin. They're down to 3 preseason games. I think that's great for the league. How about them Cowboys? Turpentine. I forgot the first name, but Turpin, who's an exciting young wide receiver, returned to kickoff and to punt, both for touchdowns in the Cowboys' win over the Chargers. Cowboys will wrap up at home, their only home preseason game, Friday night against the Seahawks. And then the 49ers and the Texans will square off Thursday night at NRG Stadium in Houston. Both teams are 2-0. Okay, let's see. Other headlines. I don't think I'm missing anything else, at least nothing that I want to touch on. Again, this week is going to be dedicated to high school football. I said in the beginning that there's going to be a lot of high school football on this show because that's where my passion is and that's where a lot of my involvement is. Opening week of high school football is this Friday night. Looking at some of the marquee games that we're looking at, up at Allen Eagle Stadium in Allen, Texas, there's a doubleheader, the Tom Landry Football Classic. Allen's going to play host to a powerhouse from California, St. John Bosco, who won the national championship in 2019. They're coming off a 10-2 season, including a victory over Mater Dei High School, which is another perennial powerhouse in California. That game's Friday night at Allen Eagle Stadium. Saturday, College Station is going to take on Lucas Lovejoy. That's going to be a good game as well. It's a doubleheader, a Friday night game and a Saturday night game, both kicking off at 7 o'clock. Some other games I'm looking at on the schedule for week 1. Lorena and China Spring, 2 defending state champions, are going to meet at Cougar Field in China Spring. They met in week 1 last year. China Spring won the game. As a matter of fact, Lorena, en route to their state championship, only lost 2 games. And one was to China Spring, and the other was to Franklin. Both are state champions. And so their 14-2 record included just those 2, I guess they call it a good loss, 2 good losses. Lorena at China Spring to open up the season. Also, let's see, Chapel Hill is going to take on Gilmer. That's a good one. Kilgore and Carthage will meet in week 1. And I think that's the only real, marquee games that we have. I do want to mention, since we're talking about Waco ISD, we'll be talking about Waco High. We're going to talk about the stadium with Coach Tusa, which was built in 2000. I'm just going to throw this out there. Opening up the stadium this year on Friday night, University Trojans, the other team in Waco ISD, will be taking on the Robinson Rockets. That could be an intriguing matchup. If you're just looking for a good game to go to in a very nice facility, check out Waco ISD Stadium and go see that one. All right. Before we get to our guest, Johnny Tusa, he was the head coach from 1986 to 2008 of the Waco Lions. He also serves on the Fellowship of Christian Athletes since 1979. 19 playoff appearances during his tenure, 181 wins, and 104 players to Division I. I'll bring that up again when we get him on the phone. But I'm talking about traditions in high school football, dynasties in high school football. In my career, I've been a part of a few where the Katy Tigers always seem to have a destiny going. That's a school where the names change and the results do not. Remember, during that 2000 stretch, early 2000, South Lake Carroll, under Coach Todd Dodge, lost 1 game in 5 seasons. They won 4 state championships. The only loss in 2003 at the Alamo Dome was a 16-15 loss to Mike Johnston's Katy Tigers. That was Mike Johnston's final game as head coach of the Katy Tigers. And that was the only game South Lake Carroll lost. We think of the Aledo Bearcats, who have picked up 10 state championships in, I think, 13 or 14 years. And they're the only team with 10 championships. But let's go back to the very first dynasty, the first one that really set the tone in Texas high school football. And it was the Waco Lions, head coach Paul Tyson. In the 20s, they played in 7 state championship games. They went to 6 straight state championship games from 1922 to 1927, winning 4 of those state championships. Under Coach Johnny Tusa, they went to the state semifinals in 1991, lost to Odessa Permian, the eventual state champions. And in 2006 at the Alamo Dome, I was part of the state broadcast of this game. Lamarck beat Waco High 36-14. But you go back to the 1920s, nobody did it better than Paul Tyson and the Waco Lions. And just looking at dynasties, talking about dynasties, we're at the beginning of the season where the road to the state championships begin. I just wanted to, I thought talking about Waco High would be a great thing. So at this time, let's do it. Let's get to the most important part of what we do at Massey on Sports, and that is our guest. I'd like to introduce Coach Johnny Tusa to Massey on Sports. Coach Tusa, again, 181 wins from 1986 to 2008 as head coach of the Waco Lions, 19 playoff appearances, a state finalist and a state semifinalist, 104 players he sent to Division I schools, players like Derek Johnson, Kwame Cavill, Lynn Elliott, and currently in the NFL, Andrew Billings. He's been a part of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes since 1979. Let's welcome in Coach Johnny Tusa. Coach, thank you so much for being a part of this week. First of all, how are you doing, and what are you doing right now?
Doing well, Anson. Appreciate this opportunity. I'm, as you mentioned, I am a part-time employee of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I work as an ambassador. The short version of that is that I meet and try to guide in a spiritual way the head coaches, athletic directors in this area, and just encourage them and pray for them and do those kinds of things, because nobody probably knows any better than me that it's a tough assignment. It gets tougher every year, but it's also a very valuable assignment, and I want those guys to know that they mean a lot to their communities and a lot to the students that they serve. Also teach a class at Baylor, a coaching class on Monday nights, and it's called Sports Pedagogy, and I've been doing that for several years now. And then, of course, Tom Barfield and I will do the Waco High games this year on ESPN Central Texas. That begins this Friday night. We'll venture up to Clark Field there in Fort Worth, and the Waco Lions will take on the Fort Worth Southwest. So looking forward to this season getting cranked up, and anxious to see a little football.
I think we all need a little football therapy right now. It's always exciting to see the season start. Just real quick, Coach, since you're in the booth this year, what do you expect out of the Waco Lions this season? They've been through quite a few changes the last several years, and looks like they're trying to find their way back to the win column. What do you expect out of the good old Lions?
Well, it's yet to be seen, as you well know, but hope springs eternal this time of year from just about every camp, and Waco High is no different. They're looking forward to turning around their fortunes. I think this Friday night they'll have an opportunity to hopefully get off to a good start in this 2022 season. They have been down. They were placed in the most devastating district I've seen last year. They by one or two students, they made the 6A ranks the previous 2 years, and it was just they just didn't have enough horses in the stable to compete with the Duncanvilles, the DeSotos, Cedar Hills. Those people are in another league, and it didn't bode well for them. But I think they're in a more favorable setting this year at the 5A Division I level. They've got a lot of local teams, and many of them are in Killeen. The rest of them are north of us, people like Midlothian, Red Oak, Cleburne, Granbury. So I'm thinking they should be very competitive, Anson. Time will tell that somewhere along the line they're going to have to turn their fortune around, and the players are going to have to believe that they can get it done. And it's just right around the corner. That possibility exists, and hopefully, like I said, they'll kick it off this Friday night, get a win, and get the momentum in their direction.
Now let's talk about your career with Waco High. Let's go back to you coached for Jefferson Moore for several years before the consolidation. When all that took place, was it the job that you wanted, or did it kind of fall in your lap? Tell us how that transpired. You became the coach of Waco High.
Sure. Of course, in 1985, the board voted to consolidate 3 schools here in Waco. It was the old Waco High, the Jefferson Moore High School, where I was coaching at the time, and then Richfield High School, which was in its current setting there on 42nd Street. The way things came down is I was at Jefferson Moore. Dr. Frank Cudlady was the superintendent, and after the 85 football season, he came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in becoming the coach of the new consolidated Waco High School. And obviously, I was very excited about that. I thought that was a great opportunity, not only for me but for the city to have a a school in the highest classification, competing with the best schools in the state. And it was always my goal, Lindsay, to put Waco High, put Waco on the map, and do it in a positive fashion, doing it the right way, and hopefully being able to win a lot of games and compete on a high level. And that came down the pike there in December of 1985 when I was named the head coach of the newly formed Waco Lions. And of course, you know the story. They took the Jefferson Moore mascot and the Richfield colors and the Waco name, and that's how the Waco Lions were born. And we hit the ground running in January on 3 different campuses. I had some of my coaches running off-season programs, and we brought them all together in the spring of 1986 for our first spring training. And we had a difficult task of putting people together, but by and large, most of the starters came from Jefferson Moore High School, where I had been the coach, and that helped us tremendously to get things going. And as you know, in that first year, we went 9-1 in the regular season. Our only loss was to Temple. We lost to them 29-28 at Old Tyson Field.
Yep.
And we ventured up to Texas Stadium and lost in the first round of the playoffs to Longview. But we had gotten off on a great start, and we were excited about the future.
I guess, you amassed 181 wins from 86 to 2008, 19 playoff appearances. You sent 104 players to Division I schools. And when you talk about playoffs, you went 9-1 that first year and lost in the first round. I don't remember what year it was, but I listened to these games on the radio. You finished 3-7, but went 3 rounds deep in the playoffs before losing to Lake Highlands, and you had a 10-0 lead on them. Interesting how that works out.
Yeah, that was an interesting season for us. We started off the non-district schedule without a win. We were 0-5. The 6th game of the year happened to be the first district game, and that was in Belton, Texas. And we did a lot of changing. We had an open date, and we changed a lot of personnel around, and we went with a much smaller, quicker defense. We had a young man by the name of Kwame Cavill who played safety for us that we moved to an outside linebacker position, and he bolstered the front of that defense considerably. And we went down there and won that ball game, and we finished 3-2 in district, which was, as you mentioned, 3-7. And we were able to go and defeat, I think it was Pflugerville in the first round, and A&M Consolidated down in College Station in the second round. We weren't picked to win any of those games. And then, as you mentioned, we had played Lake Highlands in the non-district schedule, and I think they beat us something like 49-7 early in the year. And then we jumped on them 10-0, and I think we later succumbed. I think it was 21-10. I think was the final score, but our improvement was tremendous that year, and it was actually a special year to see that kind of turnaround during the season. Is not always the case, but we did a 180 and came on like gangbusters, and we finished, winning 5 games after losing the first 5 and going 3 rounds in the playoffs, and that was quite an accomplishment. It was a special season, and we had a lot of men that really stepped up and brought us to that point.
You mentioned Kwame Cavill, who ended up coaching for you for a couple of seasons. Also, Derek Johnson's another name that's tied to Waco High. Played in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs and I believe the Raiders as well. There's one name that people might forget about that came from Waco High. Everybody knows Johnson. Everybody knows Cavill. But what about your kicker, Lynn Elliott, who ended up playing in the NFL and got a Super Bowl ring his rookie year with the Cowboys?
Absolutely. Lynn was a special talent, a very talented athlete. He was in that first consolidated class, that 1986 team, and he was our kicker. And what a leg he had, and what a knowledge of the game he had. He was really special. Of course, kickers back then, Hanson had to go and try out for spots. There weren't many scholarships that just came right out. So Lynn went to Texas Tech and competed for the kicking job. Won that job, kicked for Tech, and as you mentioned, was picked up by the Cowboys, and he was part of a Super Bowl team here. That's a year he'll never forget. But it was a special time for him, and he was a special athlete, very conscientious young man who he was very much ingrained in detail. And knew all the nuances of kicking and kicking field goals and so on and so forth. But what a weapon he was.
I want to ask you about Waco ISD Stadium because this was built in 2000. It was very early in I think I was 3 or 4 years in the radio business at that time and loving high school football. And I remember coming to my first game at Waco ISD Stadium, and it was just this grand mansion to watch a high school football game. Talk about your part in that and how proud you are to have a stadium like that for your guys to play in even today.
Well, it was obviously a big boost for the athletic department. Jack Moss was the athletic director at the time, and Dr. Roseanne Stripling was the superintendent, and that was a perfect storm because they were both on the same page. Obviously, when you're going to endeavor in spending that kind of money and doing something out of the ordinary, especially for Waco, you met a certain amount of opposition, and then you had those that fought to know that it was going to be something special for the community. And the Coach Moss had a heavy hand in the design of that stadium, and Dr. Stripling had a heavy hand in producing the finances to get it done. I think that stadium, Anson, back in 2000, ended up costing in the neighborhood of $13 million. And I don't think you can build a restroom in this day and time for that in the stadium. But we were fortunate to have got it done, and it's been the centerpiece of the athletic program, and it's also been one of the top spots for playoff games.
Yes,
and, it's really and truly been a tremendous asset to the school district.
It's a great place to watch a game. Anybody watching or listening, if you haven't been out to see a game at Waco ISD, you need to check one out, especially during the playoffs. Coach, before we let you go, we've talked about all the accomplishments, your 181 wins, 19 playoff appearances. I did not mention you got close to winning a state championship twice. You were semifinalist in 91 and state finalist in 2006. I want to ask you, what is your greatest accomplishment as a coach? The 104 players sent to D1, the wins. What was your greatest accomplishment as a coach?
Well, Anson, probably a lot of coaches probably feel the same way I do. Our greatest accomplishment is to take a young man in adolescence and head him in the right direction in manhood. That old football is nothing more than a tool to educate a person of how to live his life, how to make decisions, and how to make this country better than he found it. And if wins fade away, losses fade away. Some linger longer than others. Some go away quicker. But by and large, it does my heart good when I see these former athletes and they come up and thank you for your time and thank you for your leadership. I can't tell you how much that means, and just the guidance that we try to provide, and we try to do it the right way. And we didn't make winning and losing the object of our venture. What we made is that you do the best you can. Each and every person give it all they had, and that's all you can ask. Wins and losses just come along according to the talent and the effort of each team. But individually, we tried to make everybody feel special. We tried to give everybody a role, and we just tried to make them hopefully leave the program better than when they came in.
Coach Johnny Tusa, I want to thank you very much for being with us today here on Massey on Sports. We'll leave it with a final word from the Fellowship of Christian Athletes that you serve with. I'm going to put your link up for donations that I found, but give us one more plug for the FCA and what we can do as fans and as patrons out here in the community.
Well, you as fans and patrons, hopefully you'll support that effort of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. As you know, Anson, we're all made of mind, body, and spirit. It's a three-legged stool, and that stool has to have balance. The spiritual side is the one we're on. We hope that people will join in their respective schools, not only encourage and participate, but to donate funds so that we can keep this great organization going. It's without a doubt one of the more special things that goes on in the public schools and private, and hopefully it will grow in stature in each and every community, and we will put God first and go from there.
I like that. Coach Johnny Tusa, thank you so much for joining us. I want to wish you well, and this was fun. We're going to do this again sometime.
Absolutely, Anson, and good luck to you and your endeavors, and I appreciate the time spending with you today.
Thank you so much. Coach Johnny Tusa, everybody, a very, very successful coach, a very Christian man. Wow, that was a lot of fun. All right, Massey on Sports has been brought to you by Richard Kruger, your local State Farm agent serving the Waco area. Slingshots Are Us, based out of Waco. Rent a slingshot today. Sunday's Caribbean Oasis, where Caribbean meets Texas, located in China Spring. CCM Funding Group and Versatile Real Estate and Developments of Waco. The law offices of Yesenia Ruiz, serving McLennan County. 412 Photography of Waco. H5 Services at hfiveservices.com in Freestone County. KNES Texas 99 at texas99.com. Billy B's Restaurant in Groesbeck, located on Highway 164 outside of Groesbeck. Great place for your Friday night pregame meal. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Massey on Sports. Thanks a lot again to Coach Johnny Tusa for joining us. And keep it tuned on Massey Sports on my Facebook page or the YouTube channel. I'll put more information on the Facebook page on our next guest for next week. But for right now, thanks for joining us, and drive safe and drive courteous on your way to your high school game of your choice coming up this Friday night. It's football time, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Anson Massey. It was fun talking about dynasties and also talking about those great Waco High teams and talking with Coach Tusa. Wow, this is a great episode. I sure hope you enjoyed it. All right, story time. Two things. I'll go quickly on this one. That state championship game that Waco High played against Lamarck in 2006. It was at the Alamo Dome. I was a part of the state broadcast for that game, and we're walking on the field, meeting the coaches and looking at the players beforehand. And Lamarck was undersized compared to Waco High. At least that's what it looked like to us. And we thought Waco High would dominate. But Lamarck has a winning tradition, and they have state championships. And it was power football versus power football. Lamarck got the best of Waco High that games in that cat fight between the Cougars and the Lions. 36-14 was the final score. But I want to go back to 2003, the number one game on my list that I've been a part of as a broadcaster, and that was Katy versus South Lake Carroll. You had Coach Todd Dodge, the unbeaten South Lake Carroll Dragons, spread offense, All-American players against the old-fashioned power football, power defense, power running of Mike Johnston's Katy Tigers, and defensive coordinator Gary Joseph's great defensive game plan that shut South Lake Carroll down. Chris Massey, not related to me, but a great coach, ran the offense, and it was just power football to the right, power run to the left, kept the ball, possession of the ball, kept the South Lake Carroll offense off the field, and they prevailed 16-15. It was a great game, a very classic moment, and one that I was certainly just honored and proud and privileged to be a part of, even in the small capacity that I played as part of that broadcast. But that was great. Mike Johnston's last game, Gary Joseph took over. Of course, the results have not changed since then. So 2 great state championships, a lot of great coaches, a lot of great players that were involved in both of those games.